Hey, everybody. This is Matt Price, senior writer and podcaster over at dynastyleaguefootball.com. Going to do another mock draft review today. Hopefully the audio is better this time. I have no idea what happened last time, but let's get into it. Let me share the screen here. We're going to be looking at a mock draft I'm currently participating in with 4for4 for their February 1 quarterback mock. So let's check it out. So I actually got the fifth pick here, and for me, the first round is pretty straightforward. If I do not have an opportunity to select Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, or Saquon Barkley, not necessarily in that order, then I'm not going to take a running back in the first round. There's just too much wide receiver talent there. And a little bit later, we'll talk about the depth of the wide receiver position versus the running back position. But those are the only four running backs I'm considering there. And then my wide receiver one is still DK Metcalf, based on situation, age, the intersection of all those things and opportunity and the quarterback that he has, at least hopefully, hopefully Russ doesn't go anywhere. But for right now, so that's how this played out pretty easily with the 105 pick for me. Four running backs, and then it was DK. Not really any other considerations there at all. You moving through this draft order, you see more wide receivers. Dalvin Cook was the next running back off the board. I don't want to take him in the first round. I just don't. I probably don't have a great reason. Obviously, coming off of an amazing 2020 season, but still worried about that bomb that could go off at any time, and is an injury risk. Say what you will about injury proneness. If there is or isn't, we know that Dalvin Cook, when he gets hurt, it's typically not a great injury. So, you can see some of the big names in the industry too doing this right now. Obviously, Izzy, Dan Sanio, got my buddy John Bosch, Roto Hack, Roto Bond, Chris Allen. So really great group here. Moving through the second round and pick in 208 for me. This is the point where you need to grab a running back. If you take a wide receiver in the first round, I think it's almost like you have to take one in the second round just because of that depth. There's about 20 to 25 good running backs that you're going to want to rely on starting. As of now, things are going to change. Players are going to move around. Rookies are going to come in. Spots are going to fill, all that stuff. But as of right now, in late February, that's where it looks right now. So taking that wide receiver in the first round means that I'm going to have to take a running back here. And the best of the available ones was Cam Akers. I was actually kind of hoping for Ezekiel Elliott to fall here. He's somebody who I believe is very undervalued right now. If you didn't know, through the first 5 games when Dak Prescott was healthy and the Dallas offense was rolling, Ezekiel Elliott was the running back 3 overall, just behind Dalvin Cook, only 0.4 points per game off of Dalvin Cook's total there through the first 5 games. Then obviously it fell apart once Dak went down, right? As Elliott had a very disappointing season the rest of the way, and that's where we're at now. That's why you see such a huge gap between Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook in terms of where they're going in drafts. But a value there. Anyway, Cam Akers, the best of the rookies right now after you get past Jonathan Taylor, obviously, and DeAndre Swift as well. Cam Akers, the next guy for me there. Still some question marks about if he's going to be, get 70-80% of the workload. Henderson is still going to be there and mix in. I'm sure they'll add another back as an RB3 there for Los Angeles. But right now, Cam Akers seems like the guy, and it's just barely a hair over J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is actually my preferred pick of the two, but Baltimore threw the ball 45 total times to their running backs last year, and that is just scary for Dobbins' floor and for his upside. So just a hair above him is Cam Akers. That's where I went at the end of the second round. Going through here again, in the third round, I was thinking about going back to the wide receiver position, but again, 20 to 25 running backs. That's all I'm comfortable with right now, spending an early draft pick on, and as a starter, going into next season as of right now. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, at this, maybe not at this point last season, but as soon as Damian Williams, he opted out for the 2020 season, people were putting Clyde Edwards-Helaire up in their top 5, often into as the number 1.01 in startup drafts. And obviously that doesn't look great right now, right? But 305, I feel like, is a value. And as my running back too, I'm happy to take that upside of the second year running back in the best offense in the league with the best quarterback in the league. All that stuff didn't really work out last season and his rookie season. Had some impressive games here and there, overall disappointing from where our lofty expectations were. So I think his value probably falls somewhere in between where he was originally and where we're at right now. I think he's a second round pick all day. above a lot of these wide receivers, honestly. So value there at 305. Running back 2, got my wide receiver 1. I've got 2 great running backs to lock that down. We're just going all the way down here to 408 now for my 4th round pick. If there was a running back available that I was comfortable with, then I certainly would have went there, but they were pretty much all gone. Once we got down to this Austin Eckler tier, that was about it. James Robinson, I probably would have taken if he fell. I think he's a value in that range as well. But other than that, I think you've got to go back to wide receivers. This is where running back starts to get ugly and wide receiver starts to become a value. So Chase Claypool here, took him over Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh just a few picks later. I think you go either way with those guys, but Claypool, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that, but I feel like I have a little bit of DK Metcalf vibe with him. A ridiculous athlete, all of the monstrous things you can say about his athletic potential, the 5 touchdown game, whatever it was, obviously upside through the roof, right? So not saying he's going to be DK Metcalf of the 2021 season, but I could see that kind of ascension for him in that offense, assuming Ben is back and Ben is fine. If it's a questionable quarterback situation, maybe we have a different conversation with those receivers in Pittsburgh. But for now, Claypool looks like a value to me in the 4th round pick, just based on upside alone. Coming down to the 5th round pick. So I have those 2 big play receivers, right? Both DK and Chase Claypool. Sometimes they're going to have down weeks. I mean, sometimes every receiver is going to have a down week, even the best receiver in the league, even Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins, they have down weeks, right? But I would like to solidify that. So those 2 are going to produce really big games. Cooper Kupp is a PPR monster, I think. Some people still have Robert Woods over him. That's fine. I like Woods too. But Kupp for me is going to be the main target in that passing game. I think maybe not the downfield passing target, but he's going to be that guy in the short and intermediate areas of the field for the upgrade at quarterback Matthew Stafford. So I'm still very bullish on Cooper Kupp here, and he kind of solidifies that receiving core. He kind of gives me that nice PPR floor from that slot position for him. All right, so got 3 great wide receivers, feeling really good about that. Got 2 running backs I feel really good about, and maybe it's time to add some depth at the running back position, right? So that's what I did, and you can see running back is just not going off the board after I think it was Kareem Hunt was the last one, somewhere in there. Yeah. So scrolling down through here, look at all these wide receivers, all these tight ends, all these guys coming out. David Montgomery here went at 5'11". I'm not into Montgomery, you guys. I could expand on that later, but we're talking about mock draft here, so we'll move on. AJ Dillon, this is the value pick for me, I think, in the 6th round. Not necessarily earmarking a 6th round pick for AJ Dillon in startup drafts, but he is at an inflection point of value, I think. If Aaron Jones moves on, like most people think he's going to do, then AJ Dillon immediately shoots up to, I would say, to the conservatively, I would say to the 4th round of startup picks, and optimistically, I would say up into the 3rd round of startups. And I don't necessarily think that's wrong. So getting him in the 6th round in these early startups could be really great. If Aaron Jones moves on, if for some reason Jones comes back, then obviously that value is going to plummet. Still not a terrible pick here if that scenario was to play out, but not as good, obviously, if Jones leaves. So if Jones leaves, I bet you'll be able to get him in the 7th, maybe even 8th round. So we're taking a little bit of a risk there, but as my running back 3, the upside is through the roof. And with 3 great receivers now, 2 great running backs, and this upside pick of Dillon, loving the start for this team. 7th round pick, could have went to wide receiver, could have went to running back again. Those are obviously the 2 most important positions, but there's just nobody there that I feel strongly about in that range. I definitely didn't want Wild Jones. I'm not into Zach Moss, Chris Carson. Brandon Cooks, I do like. I think he's a little bit undervalued, but with 3 great wide receivers already in tow, I felt comfortable not taking him. He was the other consideration for me. Jarvis Landry, rock solid, but I've got Cooper Kupp to kind of fill that PPR floor position for me, so didn't really need to consider him. So went ahead and grabbed the tight end, Dallas Goedert. I think Zach Ertz is probably gone. Even if not, I think Goddard has clearly eclipsed him as a player. That Philadelphia offense is scary right now. It looks like it's obviously going to be Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Is he the real deal, or did he have a nice run there at the end of the season is going to turn into a pumpkin at some point, right? So the offensive line is a little bit of a mess. This team is an enigma. I don't know what to do with the Philadelphia Eagles. I still like parts of it. I still love Miles Sanders, still love Dallas Goedert, still love Jalen Reagor. So went ahead and pulled the trigger on a relatively early tight end. All the elite guys obviously off the board, but he was the next guy on my list there. So earlier than I will generally take a tight end if I'm not getting Kittle or Kelsey. But with no running backs that I want to take, no wide receivers I want to take, this is where we landed with Dallas Goedert. So moving on to the 8th round, doubling up on Eagles, right? So maybe a little bit earlier for a quarterback, but again, just nobody stands out here. I already had my tight end. I have 3 running backs, 3 receivers, feeling good. I could take some more depth at either of those positions, right? But we're in the range of Denzel Mims and Mike Williams, and these are clearly depth players, right? So at this point, I might as well take a shot at a quarterback, and all of the other rushing quarterbacks are gone. They're all off the board. And if there's one thing that I think 2020 has taught us, is that it's almost like you need a quarterback that's going to provide some production with his legs to compete anymore. Late round quarterback strategy is obviously still a good one, but if you can get one of those top 6 to 7 guys who also provide some production for you on the ground, then you're going to be a leg up at that position. And one quarterback leagues, not as important in Superflex, but also in one quarterback leagues, there's not a lot of difference makers at the quarterback position, right? So after you get outside of those tops, like I said, 7 to 8, 9 guys, then you might as well just wait till the very end of the draft, right? So Jalen Hurts, he provides that rushing upside. We don't know if he's going to be good. Maybe he's terrible as a passer still, and it's not going to work out. But I'm willing to take the risk here at the end of the 8th round on that upside that they can provide the rest of my team. So scrolling through to the 9th round, I decided to take Chase Edmonds, just adding to that running back group, a player, again, kind of like Dylan in a similar situation. Not obviously doesn't have the draft capital or the pedigree there that Dylan does, but if Drake moves on, which I do think is likely, then Chase Edmonds becomes a starter for a very good offense with Kyler Murray at quarterback, right? So kind of a dart throw, I guess, but very good depth piece, I think, as my running back 4. It could easily be my running back 3, depending on what happens with Dylan. So decided to go depth there. You can see right after that, George Kritikos, RotoHack, took Kenyon Drake. I don't know if that was a little bit to throw a dart at me or maybe poke me in the side. Maybe, oh, look, I got the actual starter in Arizona. I don't know. I honestly don't believe Drake is going to be back, and if he is, then I think Edmonds going to have a bigger role than he did last year. So scrolling through, moving on, let's go to the 10th round. So once we get to the 10th round, guys, this is where I start trying to throw darts, taking all upside picks, because the veterans that you're going to find in this range are awfully going to be, maybe they get into your lineup as a bench player, as a fill-in, if you have an injury, that kind of thing. But those players are a dime a dozen. You can get them all the way through the rest of the draft. We don't need to worry about that here. So I want to take upside with these picks. I want to take players that if they hit, they're going to hit big. And Mecole Hardman is certainly one of those guys. A lot of people, even myself, thought that would happen last year, especially with Sammy Watkins playing a much lesser role, and being injured for part of the year. You thought Hardman would step up, but he made a lot of mistakes, and you have to think that Reed is not a fan of that. All of the things we love about Hardman, the speed, the ability in the open field, all that stuff is still there. Some people believe that you're going to need to see a Tyreek Hill injury, or for Tyreek Hill to move on for Hardman to be completely unlocked, because they kind of fill the same role. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think you can move Hardman around the formation, do a lot of things with him in the short areas of the field, even give him handoffs here and there, right? So I think he's a player that is very versatile and can be used in that way. He's just got to get his head on straight and stop making those dumb mistakes, and we might see an ascension from him in 2021. So went back to the KC offense there in the late 10th round. 11th round, KJ Hamler. This might have been an early pick, but if my decisions are the upside of KJ Hamler, who's definitely flashed in his rookie season, and Devin Singletary, Cole Beasley, Antonio Brown, Tariq Cohen, James Washington, I think Hamler has a higher upside than all of those guys. It's going to be a little bit more crowded in Denver next year, with presumably Courtland Sutton coming back healthy, right? So he's going to push him down to that wide receiver 3, depending on what happens with Jerry Jeudy. But we saw it from Hamler last year, and we saw it with bad quarterback play from Drew Lock. So this is an upside pick, just like Hardman. If he hits, perfect. If he doesn't, oh well. I didn't really miss out on anything. I don't think I missed out on Beasley or Brown or any of these guys that went after him, right? So not too difficult of a pick for me. All right, so this one I think is going to be real controversial. N'Keal Harry, man. What a fall for him from the wide receiver 1 and some people's 1.01 in that class of receivers. Hasn't worked out. We're going into the year 3 now, and we'll see what happens with the quarterback play. Obviously, that was a question mark. The thing with N'Keal Harry is that I think it was impossible for any receiver really to put together a consistent run of good games with the passing attack and Cam Newton's inability to really distribute the ball except for a handful of games. We saw that 300-yard game against Seattle earlier in the year, and we thought, oh, Cam's back, right? And then we had plenty of games where he threw less than 100 yards and no touchdowns. So it's difficult for any receiver to break out in that form, in that situation. So I'm willing to give N'Keal Harry another shot. We thought very highly of him coming out, and he's really not had an opportunity, whether it's from injuries or a bad quarterback play or whatever it is, to really show what he can do in the NFL. So another upside play at wide receiver. After those top 3 that I have, I'm how good they are. I'm happy to take shots like N'Keal Harry here in the 12th round. 13th round. This is a bad pick. I'm going to say that right now. This is a bad pick. I mean, there's no really bad picks this late in the draft. But Marlon Mack, coming off an Achilles injury, no running back has really ever successfully come back from that and been a productive player. But I don't think he's going to be in Indianapolis. I think he's going to have an opportunity somewhere else. So, and medical technology continues to get better and better. We see guys come back from ACLs like it's nothing. And obviously an Achilles is a much more serious injury. And we've never seen a running back really come back from it, but Marlon Mack is young. It happened to Arian Foster when he was age 29. I looked that up today. So I don't think you can compare a 29-year-old, 30-year-old running back coming back from that injury and a 24, 25-year-old coming back from that injury. So we'll see. Again, just a depth piece. We're not looking for contributors at this point, right? We're looking for somebody that can hit and turn into something. We can either convert into another pick, or can come up and be a spot starter for us if we have to. Again, the players that are going around him, I don't think I would have taken any of these guys over Marlon Mack. I think I remember that this pick was made pretty quickly. I was in a rush and kind of pick somebody. I think I would say that Phillip Lindsay was a much better pick at running back here from Nathan Powell. He's not going to be in Denver again, and we've seen him succeed when he's been healthy. He's an undrafted guy, huge chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove everybody wrong of how good he is, despite his size, despite his lack of draft capital. So if he ends up in the right spot, this could be a very good pick that Nathan had, and I probably would have rather had him here at the 1305 than Phillip Lindsay. So that was a misstep for sure. Going down to the 14th round, my boy Quintez Cephus, currently the only wide receiver under contract in Detroit. Quarterback downgrade. Galladay's probably going to be back, maybe on a franchise tag, maybe not. They're obviously going to draft somebody. Devonta Smith has been mocked here and numerous NFL mock drafts. Maybe they get a Jamar Chase that early. But right now, Quintez Cephus is the only guy there, and he got some opportunities, and he could have been better. He's not a speed guy. He's a go up and get it. He's a threat in the end zone to score touchdowns. So I'm willing to take a shot here in the 14th round. We're looking at all upside. Remember, guys, do you want Damian Williams? Is he really going to come back and be productive? Is he going to take the job from Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I kind of don't think so. So, J.D. McKissick, sure, could he catch 5-10 balls a game if Washington continues to run it back with him? That's absolutely a possibility. A.J. Green, is he going to be somewhere else and be a person again, be an actual player in the NFL again? I don't know. But give me the youth, give me the upside, give me Quintez Cephus over almost all of these guys as we've gone through here. And then 15th round pick, back to running backs, Gus Edwards. I think he is severely undervalued right now. If he's not back in Baltimore, there's a good chance he could go somewhere where he is the best back on that roster. And in fact, for Baltimore last season, he was the best back on that roster for stretches of the season. I love J.K. Dobbins. He was my favorite running back in that class, really, to be honest with you. And he's great. And I don't know, but Edwards, if he's back, he's going to get a portion of the carries. We've seen that. Mark Inman's going to be gone, so if Edwards is back, it's going to be Dobbins, it's going to be Edwards, and they're both going to get more touches. So like him, even if he stays in Baltimore, like him even more if he goes somewhere else and ends up in a committee where he can truly be that lead back for a team that hasn't spent the draft capital that Baltimore spent on J.K. Dobbins. 16th round pick, Jared Cook. This was actually a pick that I did not see. I don't know how I missed the draft notification. I didn't get it. It was auto drafted for me. So I probably wouldn't have taken Jared Cook here. But that's what got auto drafted to me. Looking at these guys after him that went in the next few picks, I'd probably rather have Gronkowski than Jared Cook, even if Gronkowski doesn't come back right now. We think that he probably is. I would rather have him than Jared. Le'Veon Bell, he seems done. James White is, I guess, a little bit interesting, but he's never going to be a guy that gets most of the production from a running back group, right? So even with the auto draft, it's not a terrible pick. Back to 1705, in one quarterback leagues, again, they're not that important to me. The quarterback two types that produce, 15 to 16 points a game are a dime a dozen in a one quarterback league. You don't need to spend capital on them. In the 17th round, still a little bit of upside with Jones. I'm on record as not being a fan of Daniel Jones at all. I didn't like him coming out. I don't really like him now, but you can't deny that he has some rushing upside. He's shown it in the NFL at the NFL level. You have to think with Saquon Barkley coming back, this is going to be a better team than it was in 2020. So Daniel Jones prevents some upside as a backup to Jalen Hurts. Both of those guys are risky, but I think if one of those two can work out, then we've got some nice production on the ground from our quarterback position, which is always a bonus. And then you can see we're not quite done with this draft yet, but down at the 18th round, my last pick here that has been made so far, another running back depth pick, DJ Dallas. I don't think Chris Carson is back. Rashad Penny was getting healthier at the end of the year, so maybe he comes back and is the full-time guy. Maybe Seattle drafts somebody like Najee Harris and or Javonte Williams, and that's their guy going for. We know that Seattle is going to run the ball. Right now, we don't know who that is, and DJ Dallas could be that guy. If you're not familiar with him, he's a converted wide receiver, very good at catching the ball, had some limited run, and was pretty successful in some limited opportunities in 2020. You would have liked to see him really take over that position with Rashad Penny hurt, and then when Chris Carson got hurt, and there was really not too much else, right? Didn't happen. He did not blow the doors off the league, but still some upside there just because of his receiving ability. So that's it so far, guys. In the 19th and 20th round, I'll probably take another running back and another wide receiver, maybe two wide receivers. We'll have to see who's still on the board. Just not too many left at this point. We're all just throwing darts once we get to these 18th, 19th, 20th rounds. So that was it for today. Hope the audio quality is better. Hope you enjoyed the mock draft review. And thank you so much to George Kritikos at RotoHack for including me in 4for4's February Dynasty one quarterback mock draft. See y'all next time.